things. But I don't say a major problem with major transport, and they try to hold.
Okay, well, it is just after 7, so can I welcome you all to the October Finance, Employment Services Committee meeting. I think for apologies, item 2, there's just Howard Thomas.
Yeah.
There's no one else, is there, missing?
No,
just Howard. Right. Item 3, declarations of interest. Are there anyone has any interest they need to declare? No. Item 4, the minutes of the last meeting. Would someone like to move them and second them as a correct record? And are there any comments on the minutes or rectifications to them?
I'm happy to move the minutes as they are.
Seconded. Those in favour? Thank you.
I'd just like to apologise for my non-attendance last meeting. I was unfortunately unwell, and I forgot to inform the secretary in due course.
Okay. Item 5, public forum. There are no members of the public here. Item 6, exclusion of the public. Under standing orders, there's just one item on the agenda, which is to be taken as a private item, and it's item number 14. Item 7, financial update.
Okay, has anybody got any questions?
No questions. Is anything that needs commenting on, Gina?
No. Are we doing all 3 together?
Is that seconded? Those in favour? Thank you. Item 8, external audit. Must be some comments on this.
Yes, there are. For the first time in a while. What it was is in relation to the watering floral displays. Basically, because we're doing it in the house, it's part of remuneration. So it's worked out on their hourly pay and how many hours it takes to do the watering. But we included it as an expense in the floral displays budget. Now we did the same last year and it wasn't picked up. But they are saying because it is wages, it shouldn't be in expenses, it should be in staff costs. So we have now done the necessary amendments to the financial system so that it will automatically go into staff costs. Anything else that was using that nominal code, we've changed to a different code so that the only thing in it is the watering for the floral displays, and it will now go into staff costs. So it will be rectified as of next year. We just need to remember when we're doing next year's audit and the actual AGAR that we need to put restated under the previous year's figures for next year. So everything has been published on the website before the deadline. So the conclusion of audit is there. The external auditor's report is there. And so members of the public are can request a copy of the accounts if they so wish. But we have put a charge of £8 on there if they wanted to do that. Of course, they can just view them on the website anyway. But yeah. So that's it for external audit.
No comments? On there?
Just like to say thank you very much for the hard work. Yeah, no, you've got a big timetable and you are pressure time at the moment. I know you've got various staff who are unwell at the moment or off. So that's it. I'd like to say thank you very much for the whole team and yourself.
I like that point,
Yeah, so. Can someone move that we accept the report and someone second it?
I'll move it.
All those in favour? Thank you. Item 9, Christmas light contract.
Right, so we were going to bring prices to this meeting. However, when we tried to get quotes from other companies, we quickly found that they are not willing to take on an existing display. So basically, they only wanted our business if we were going to have a whole new display.
Can I ask a question? What would happen to this equipment we've already got? Do we own that, or is that
Yes, we own that. That is ours.
Right.
So nobody wants to take on an existing display. So they would want us to get a whole new load of lights, making us the ones that we have now redundant, really, or repurpose them. I'm not sure, but yeah. So because of that, and because we are actually happy with the company that are doing it at the moment, anyway. So we will be sticking with them for the next 3 years, because the contracts of 3 years. Like I say, we're happy with the service. They do a lot for us with them being local. If there's any issues, say if the lights have come down from the trees, they will quickly be on it, and they'll refix them. And majority of the times they won't charge. So they do help us out a lot.
What was the reason for? We was looking for a cheaper quote.
It's because the contract was up for renewal.
Oh, that's the only reason.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a 3-year contract and it's at the end of its term. On there?
Yeah, if I remember rightly, on the last meeting that we had, this was discussed at the time, where we were saying, look at an extension for a year. Would they, look at keeping the prices for another year, or they were looking at raising them? What have they come back with at the moment relating to costing?
Well, when I was doing the budget, or when I was looking at budget, basically what I put in, because there were 3 options that we were looking at. We did order the extra trees, so we've done that out of this year's budget. So that will add on to the contract for next year for the maintenance and the installation and so forth, the storage. We were then looking at changing the lights, which when I've done the budget, I've then put that in for the following year. And we were also looking at a cross road display at the top of town. So I put that in for year 3, basically. So from their initial quote, I've tried to work out how much, obviously that would increase the maintenance charge for the following year. And I've included a budget for new equipment in each year to cover the cost of the new stuff. But it does mean that if we do want to do that, it does increase substantially. But I mean, I was talking to David earlier, and we haven't done anything to the Christmas lights for a long time. So they've been the same for. So it's. I mean, we have got the trees, the new ones, sort of at the top. So that will be a change for this year. But obviously, the option to change the lights, we don't have to go with it. I've put it in the budget, but if we decide that we don't want to, then I can take it back out again. And we just have the increased contract costs just for what we have now plus the trees. So
Any more questions or comments? Brian?
When you say a long time, it was about 4 years ago, wasn't it?
is it?
The changing of the lights.
We changed them. We changed them to LEDs, but the actual lights weren't. The frames of the lights are still the same. So we haven't changed the design of anything, or they literally just changed to LEDs, which obviously made it cheaper, which is good. But yeah, so we were looking at different, maybe a different, slightly different design to
Thank
the
you.
one we have now.
Patricia?
Yeah, I'm happy that we're sticking with the original one, but the one that wanted to come in fresh, did they give us any designs that they wanted to redo all our lights? Because obviously we're happy with what we've got, but
To be honest, we didn't get that far because we asked 3 different companies and they all said the same thing, that they wouldn't entertain it unless it was a new display, and it was bought through them, and they store it, they install it, etc., etc. So we kind of thought, well, we don't really have the budget for a whole new display at the moment. So
It looks to me as though what they were wanting was the maintenance contract, and on top of that, they were looking at creaming off the markup on all the new equipment, which is not on. That's what I think we're after. Brian?
I tend to agree. I think that's probably where the cream of the money was on sales of the
Yeah.
equipment.
But what they probably don't realise is whichever contractor we go with, if during the 3-year contract we decide we want something extra, it is likely that the order will be placed with the contractor anyway, isn't it?
yeah,
Because they'd be our current contractor, whoever it is. So but it's just a case of, do we want to go for any extras, or do we want to keep prices as low as we can and go with running what we've got for a bit longer? And
I like the proposal there that Gina had put forward about the extra trees, especially now the market straight where it's enclosed in. Some have got them already, but then you've got others where there's a big blank and it looks, it looks odd. The bunting like in that small area, because you've got that raisable distance across, and it is feasible. I think that would, look very
they're
nice.
going in this year anyway, aren't
the trees are, but the cross
With the light,
display isn't.
the following year, which to me is acceptable because you're looking at, you're not saying, right, let's get a big budget there. Now we're looking at it as a gradual incremental rather than let's throw everything at it and people go, why have you spent it all?
Yeah.
Well, at least we can say we're trying to improve gradually rather than skint everybody up.
Yeah. Of course, the other alternative is to, obviously we have ordered the trees, so we would stick with that anyway, but then just stick with that display until the end of this contract and then look at redoing it all. And then you could get quotes from other companies as well. So it depends how you want to go with it, really.
Well, okay, so let's recommend that we go with the trees for this year, and then this time next year or earlier, look at what we've got then for the bunting lights. Put that into aims for that till then. Yeah, for the trees, definitely I'd say go for it.
I mean, obviously, I have put the items in the budget. So because I do a 3-year budget, so I have put those items in. Obviously, when it comes to looking at the budget, if we decide that we need to cut things out, that could possibly be one of the things we cut out. So, yeah. But you will see when you see the budget, you'll see what a difference it makes. Obviously, in the years of how much extra it will be, and it is quite a lot. So.
Yeah, when we're going to make a final decision on budget, there will be sort of 3 categories of things in budget. There'll be things such as electric and gas, which we've no control over. The cost is what it is because it's out of our control. There'll be things that you could say are a wish list, and on a good day we'd hope to have that, and it to be an extra. And there'll be other things which is essential and we've got to have anyway. So it might come to a case where we put a lot of things in budget, and at end of the day, we might have overdone it and Gina might have to take some things out. But we'll have to play it by ear as it goes on, month by month, as we progress through the budget. Because we are limited in a sense as to how much we can put the precept up. You can't put an infinite amount on, even if you wanted to. You can only put a reasonable amount on. I don't think there's a lot more we can do at that at this meeting, at this stage, is there?
No, the Christmas lights
No.
was basically just for information of me saying that we were sticking
But
with
we could put the trees in this year. We'll see what it's like this year with the extra trees in. And if there are any places where it's looking a bit bare and a bit shoddy and not up to scratch, we can look at them for extras for another year, can't we? And do it that way.
Yeah, we can't really do anything until we
No.
know what it's going to be like. So.
No, there's nothing there this year to fasten anything to on it hoardings, is there? You know, I don't think we can do anything with that side.
Yeah, last house is probably taken away.
Yeah.
Central this way.
Yeah.
It's hard to look after that one.
Well. Right. So can we leave it at that then? That we just for this year just stick with the trees.
Trees. Yeah.
Yeah. All those in favour of that? You. What, we're on 11?
Well, I'll just talk briefly on number 10.
Yeah, on budget, on
Yeah.
best of budget, yeah.
Yeah. So I am in the process of putting the budget together. So I've gone through a lot of things like salaries, utilities, things that subscriptions, software licenses, that kind of thing. So that's all in there at the moment. All the grounds maintenance is in there. There's just a few things, more things that I need to put in. But there's a lot of things that I've basically written a note, things to think about, to put in the budget, because none of this is basically in. So basically we were looking at re-roofing the town hall at the moment. There's nothing in the budget for that. I haven't put anything in yet. The heating for the town hall, that is another thing that will need replacing at some point, and that will not be cheap. We did get a quote to get new boilers, which I think was something like 45,000. But that was just to replace the boilers, and then you've still got your your piping system that's very inefficient. But if you're looking to redo the whole thing, then it's a massive job. So there is that. Obviously, we're looking at creating an archive for the town hall. I haven't put anything in the budget for that as yet. From preliminary discussions, though, we are hoping to put a bid together to the Heritage Lottery Fund to get funding for the initial setup, for display materials, that kind of thing. So hopefully that wouldn't have too much of it wouldn't be too intrusive on the budget. Hopefully we would get some kind of funding towards it. Officers have actually been looking at whether it would be worthwhile putting a permanent bar downstairs into the town hall. But I haven't put anything in the budget for that, and it is looking like it would be quite expensive. So unless we were having things like functions every weekend, or then it's possibly not going to be cost effective. The only reason why we looked at it is because basically, with it being a temporary, it makes it hard work at the Blues, because you're moving things, you can't air your car scales or anything like that, so they won't settle properly, so they don't pull properly. It just makes everything hard work. Whereas if it was an existing bar, so what we'd ask the company to quote for is to where they would take the lines, they'd take it straight down into the cellar and then across, and then there was a room that we were going to say, well, this is where we would keep the cooling system, the barrels, etc. So the main cost of it is obviously it's concrete floor, so it's getting through the floor, and it's the amount of piping that you need. But they are looking at it, and they will get some prices together for us, so we can have a look at that when it comes through, to see if it would be cost effective or not. Obviously, we have the monthly disco, so that's something that, you know, if we had draft on there, then it would be used, weddings, etc. But I think it would need to be used a bit more than that to warrant it, because you've got to clean your lines every so often. You've got to maintain the bar. If it's not being used, then there's a lot of wastage involved. So obviously, it's something we would need to look at more closely. But initially, if we get a cost and we know how much it would be, then we know what we're looking at then. So currently there's nothing in the budget for that. There's also the wall at Alkin Courts, the secret garden. We do need to look at doing something with that. Obviously it's currently got a fence in front of it and signs saying, you know, that it's not safe. So when we did look at options before of reinstating the wall, it was even then it was over £350,000, I think they said, but that was using the original stone, or whatever stone it was, with like lime mortar and all that, and how it would have been recreating how it would have been when it was originally built. I mean, really, it is in the Colne Neighbourhood Plan as a non-designated heritage asset, which means that we would struggle to do anything like knock it down, basically. Or, I mean, I had the idea of just reducing the height of the wall, going round and using whatever you take off the higher bits to put on the lower bits, and to try and just make it safer as it is, which I don't think is that bad an option. But obviously it wouldn't be as it was then. But to be honest, it's a wall. The lodge that was there and the grounds that's no longer there anyway. So it's a wall to nothing really. But yeah, I don't know. It's obviously something that we need to look at. And something that will probably be brought up at the Alcacos working group for ideas of what what we are going to do with it. But again, there's nothing in the budget for that because we don't know how much ultimately it would cost. I think we need to think about what we want to do before we go out and get costs of how much it's going to be. I mean, a whole new wall, like we said then, was 350,000, which I don't think is an option. So we do need to look at alternatives. So that's another thing. There's obviously also talk of Pendle wanting to transfer services to us. King George V Park is one of them that they have been talking about. There's also the skate park that apparently, I don't know.
Well, we've
We're going to
already
be
told them
funding.
right from day one that we wouldn't take on the skate park. When they initially brought the thing up, we said we wouldn't take it on. We said we would give a contribution towards running it, but we said we wouldn't take it on.
But I think we did say that we will be open to pay a set amount
Yes,
for maintenance.
which was a contribution
annum.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah. But that, again, there's nothing in the budget currently for that. There was obviously, we're currently in the process of extending the lease for the bowling academy for the pavilion. We couldn't do it because we have to wait till I think it's March next year. So that the way we wanted to do it was to just extend the original one for so long. I think that was the easiest option, but they were willing to wait. So, but they were talking about building a new pavilion.
Yes, they were. Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Still are, for that matter. They still are talking about it.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that an element of that cost is going to come through funding. I think that's why they want to extend the lease, isn't it? But whether any cost would.
If they can't get the funding without extending the lease, and we approved extending the lease, but there's limitations as to how much we can extend it if there's more than a certain amount of time still to run on it. And we go beyond that point, don't we, in March?
I think it's March 25, yeah.
You can't extend one that's longer than so many years on it still to run. But once it gets beyond that point, then we can extend it, and we can extend it to the figure we agreed. Because unless it's quite a lot of years on it, they can't get the funding. Well, nobody's going to give you funding on something that you might not be in control of in 5 years' time, are they? They're not going to do it. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I forgot exact details of what it was, but we did work it out, and it did. It were next spring, weren't it?
Yeah. So they were willing to wait, so that's fair enough. Yeah. But whether any costs would fall to the council, depending on what they wanted to do, I'm not sure. So obviously there's nothing in the budget.
As of yet, there has been no mention of anything that would fall onto us.
Right. There's currently nothing in the budget for the phone boxes. Obviously, if we did take those on, there would be a annual maintenance cost that goes with that. Especially with them being listed. Because there's only so much you can do with them anyway. And you would need to keep them up to standard, which they're currently not in a good standard, I don't think. I think they've been filled and painted that many times that if you stripped it down, there wouldn't be much left of it, I don't think. And I've not put anything in the budget for bringing back the mayoral position. So that's another thing. So I haven't got a printout. I do have things on a stick if you wanted to see it. Obviously, when I've finished, I can email it out to you anyway, so you can see it. My question is, do you want me to include any of these extra things that are currently not in the budget? So it's like things like phone boxes and things for the wall, the heating, the roof. I will say though, currently, without all this, it's over £1 million. So I don't really think we've got that much leeway to play with. We did increase it last year. I don't really think we want to be increasing it by a lot this year. So some of these things will either have to wait or just be knocked on the head.
You want to say one thing, and then I'll bring Brian in because he's been waiting a while. Going back to the wall of balcony doors, the wall does need doing. It is a mess, and in fact, it's a shambles. But when you put it in a category for extra capital works to do, I think when you compare it with keeping the roof on building and keeping this building watertight, something like that wall, if you put things in priority order, has got to take a back seat over this building and even the new heating system in here. I think it's more important to keep this building watertight and weathertight than it is to build that wall, as much as I'd like to see the wall done. But I think that's why we want to get this, what we'd like to do in budget. I think we need to get a list of what we'd like to do, and then we've got to sort of prioritise some things, and some things will obviously not get done, and some will. But I don't think we should be thinking about doing that wall in Secret Garden while it's needing a new roof on Town Hall. That's just my opinion. I think it's more important. Because if the roof did go completely, and we've got water pouring in everywhere, and we've got all sorts of rotting, it'd cost a lot more to bring this back than it would to build that wall up there, wouldn't it? Cost us a fortune. Yeah. Brian.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was looking at the whole list that you've told us about tonight, and I was like prioritising it like David as well. I agree with David. If the roof is in such a disrepair that we can't keep this building dry, it has to be the number one priority. I'm looking at the bar as well. I was thinking that if we did get a permanent bar, I would hope that it would attract more functions because it is a permanent bar. And I think people would like that when they come for a function. And I know they have meetings here, and perhaps a bar would attract them as well. Not just functions with weddings and things, but with people, like companies that have meetings. I don't know what companies do, but I think the banks used to at one time or something used to come in. So that might afford a new opportunity. The Secret Garden wall, that's what I was thinking about. It's what the public sees, and they're paying the precepts. and it would be a top priority for me after the roof. Yeah, because you have to keep it one, but it should be a number one priority on here. So, so roof, secret garden, and then looking at a bar, because a permanent bar may even attract profits. King George's shows the 5th field, taking on services from Pendle. Is it owned by a trust or something? A special trust, King George's the 5th? Would it create us any problems by taking it on from Pendle?
It's just, it'd be the same as it was with the allotment site on there. We did have to sign a deed of dedication from the trust, so they were letting us take that land, but on certain conditions. So it would be the same thing. For land registry purposes, I think that's what you have to do when it's a trust.
Yeah. Going on to skate park, when you say we initially made a contribution, would they be expecting an annual contribution from us? When you're taking it on, are they expecting an annual contribution from us?
I'm presuming so, but they've not actually approached us with anything for a long while, really. I think initially they wanted us to take it on completely, but we said we haven't paid anything yet towards it. But we said we wouldn't want to take it on. However, we would consider putting a certain amount aside for towards the annual maintenance costs of it. We were thinking something like 10 grand a year, weren't we? I think at the time. But as yet, they've not come forward with a proposal or anything like that. I know they've had a few meetings here about the design of it, etc. But yeah,
I don't think they found the money to pay for it in the first place yet, have they?
I think they were short. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think you've answered my question there, because I'm going to ask, is it open? I didn't realise it. No, it's not
It's
open.
not been built yet.
Bowling Academy, rebuilding the pavilion. I guess there's not going to. You said they haven't approached us for any money, so it don't need to go in budget. But it does, I guess, need replacing. Does that pavilion? I don't think anything's been done with it since I were a lad.
No.
You know, and I used to go up there as a 5-6-year-old, so 60 years ago. Bone boxes, I'm not too interested in, and the mayoral position, no comment. Thank you.
Just a couple of ones. Currently, you said we've got the phone boxes which are listed, which are owned by BT, I presume it is. So it's their duty of care to keep the upkeep of them.
It
Make
is,
sure
but
they are.
when we were looking at Dorothy, were looking into it, and if you wanted to take it over, but we would, because they're on LCC land,
We'd have to
we would have to get their permission, and their permission for what we could actually do with them as well. But I think we will be limited to what we can do.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, we're just taking on another asset that's going to cost to maintain, and we're not really going to get much out of it, from what I can see, anyway.
Yeah. The other one is you mentioned about the skate park. If I remember rightly, it was brought up saying they were looking at doing a noise abatement study. From this council was saying, or the full council, the notes I'm going back were saying, well, you're looking at doing a noise study for houses which are about 200 metres away. What about those 30 metres away? And the only thing I've ever seen or heard of since was Pendle Council saying, we want your views to the public. And nothing's heard, seen, or anything. But I think that the time was a big no from this council, because, like I say, it was going to be built. It's yours to look after. And it's like, we've not seen it, apart from saying it's in the wrong place. Who's going to, if it gets when it gets graffitied, who's going to be liable for any injuries? Because somebody's going to fall. They're going to turn around and say it's council's fault. they should have made sure it was safe. So just not heard anything back.
Thing is, I think or somebody pointed it out to me, and I found the report that was on the Edinburgh Council website. And I think it even said something about us taking it over, and they just not even mentioned it to us. So yeah, I was a bit like, But then it did come to a council meeting. But like I said, we did say that we would consider putting some money towards the maintenance costs. But that's as far as we went, and nothing was formally agreed, or so.
The reason for that was if we genuinely offered to pay or offer to pay something annually towards the running costs of it, at least you know what you're paying. If you let them build it and transfer it over to you, you are stuck with the thing then, because any costs that fall on it would be ours, and any mistakes they'd be made in the manufacture of it would come over to us, because we'd be the new owners of it, and we'd have that to put right as well. And what really does rub the salt in the wound is they said, you know, will you be taking it over? But when it come to designing the thing and deciding where it were going, they wouldn't even consult with us.
I know it's probably the wrong place, but has Colne Area Committee actually heard anything about this since? So have they heard about it, or have they progressed it?
There was a meeting here. When was it? In April?
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, this year. And that was on about the design and everything. I don't know if anyone else attended that. But yeah, since then we haven't heard anything. So I'm not quite sure. I don't even know if it's actually going ahead or not.
And the same applies to King George's side, in a sense. Pendle want to transfer that to us because they are short of money and they don't want the running costs of it. But if they transfer it to us, that'll be an extra expense to us then.
If it was here, you can also tell us about the history of it and how to be quick, because it's made up to your bit and what you can't, what you can do. It's like I say, it's that extra expense with that. Going forward.
Yeah.
And it's a landfill site.
Realistically, the only thing that you could do with it is to reinstate the football pitch, the sports pitch.
Well, I can remember when there were a football pitch on there. There were a football pitch on there when I were at Park School, and it's probably one of the worst football pitches you could play on because it's on a fair slope.
When we look at the things that have to be done, when you talk about the roofing, and we're also looking at the heating, is there a sort of time constraint on the heaters and the boilers?
Well, there will be really, because they're currently older than they should be.
So something has to be done in the very near future.
I would say in the next 3 years we won't need to do it.
And to be fair, on an energy efficiency rating, they're probably nearer to a Z than an A plus, aren't they? That old.
6,000 rate.
I think they're all of them put together.
Can we not get grants? Just keep getting these adverts on social media saying you can get grants for heating.
We actually looked into it. We got someone round to come and look at. It was like this decarbonisation scheme or whatever it was, and there was funding available, and we got the guy to come look around, and he just said you wouldn't be eligible. because of the type of system that it is. So we thought, right, well, we're not eligible for that. But like I said, you've got two different options. One option is taking the whole system out and replacing it, which would be a huge job because you've got all your pipework, everything. It would obviously be very disruptive to the town hall. Or we can replace the boilers, which is obviously they do need replacing. But obviously that's a smaller cost and less disruption.
Well, there would be a saving by say eventually
save
by changing the boilers, because even with these existing pipes in, if you had more efficient boilers in, you'd have a saving. Now, how long it'd take you to save,
Get your money back.
Get your money back as a saving as to what the actual boilers would cost you, I don't know.
Not to that, you improve the radiation of that stainless steel silicon, I mean, they generate more heat, which means less heat to go. So.
Yeah, but you won't gain an advantage with the system as it is. If you took them out and put new modern radiators in, you won't gain anything. It's the pipes that's the problem. Pipes hold more water than radiators.
Some of the pipes are like that big.
Yeah.
They're 3-4 inch diameter is some of the pipes. Whereas most it'd be on now is something like 20 mil copper pipe at most, isn't it?
These radiators have character.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that.
Patricia.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with you about the roofing and the heating. I agree with Brian here over the possible use of a bar. Here in the phone boxes are a bleeder. The skate park, an accident waiting to happen. The bowling academy, the lease extension I understand, but as you rightly said, Chair, the pavilion will probably come from that, and they'll be able to fund it themselves. But obviously we can't do anything until March, April. King George's playing field, as you rightly said, it's on a former landfill site. And when you did play football, I bet you in the winter you were getting bogged down because it's a quagmire. Because it's just, because of what it's on, it just holds the water, so it's no good as a football pitch. And when we were talking about possibility of putting the fair up there, what did we get told? It just sinks. We can't use it's another dead duck, and that's PCC, that's Pendle Borough Council for you all the way. They did that. They tried to do that with us at Nelson. So yeah, the wall is third on the list. It would be third on the list, with the bar fourth. But in my view, thank you, Chair.
Yeah, relating to bar, I think it would be good for us to have a permanently fixed bar in there, because it'd save all the faffing about assembling it whenever there's some sort of an event done. The two downsides that I see with it is, and the first one is the pipe work to it. If you had pipes down into the cellar, that'd be brilliant if you were using it every day or every other day. But what you'd have to remember is the longer the pipes are, the more beer you've got to draw off. When they've been not used for a day or two, you'd have to draw off to bring the new through, because you can't really start selling people beer that's been in pipe a week, can you? So that could be a problem. The pipes want to be as short as possible in that sense. And the other thing is what this building here, with the rooms getting used for council meetings and for full council and for council committee meetings, you can't have a meeting of the council or a committee in a building where the bar is open. So it wouldn't be a case of, as it is now, we've got the slimming people downstairs, and that's quite okay. They're downstairs, we're upstairs, they don't bother us, we don't bother them, and everything's all above board and legal. We couldn't have this meeting in here as we're having tonight and the bar open downstairs. That would not be allowed.
What's the, that's a problem?
Yeah, but the bar is closed until the meeting's over. Yeah.
No, I'm just asking.
I look at under the alcohol and beverage act. Where there, like David said, where there is a meeting.
You can't hold a council meeting on premises where there is currently a bar or.
And that goes with the house of the bar.
So if we had a council meeting in here on a Wednesday, for instance, I don't think we ever will do because there's never been no need for it. But if we had, they wouldn't be able to have the bar up for Dorothy's thing downstairs.
No.
Or we wouldn't be able to have the council meeting, whichever. But we couldn't have them together.
Unless the meeting was placed early on the bar and held back until the meeting was finished. After the meeting.
It isn't to do with licensing laws, it's to do with
It's just.
it's to do with council
Yeah.
legislation laws.
It's not really that. I can't remember.
No,
No, oh no,
could be used every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got the area there, you can use for bands or local groups that want to sing. Or Simon, the voice saying function, they're on
But because of the meetings that are here, because there's Colne Area Committee here, that'd count. There's FES meeting, there's events, allotments, full council, blues. You'd end up with a situation where, in reality, there's probably 2 meetings a week here, isn't there? On average, so there'd probably be at least 2 nights a week. You couldn't have the bar open.
Thursday is
Area
Colne Area.
Committee's Thursday. Not saying it couldn't be done. I'm just saying it'd have to be worked around. There would be certain days you couldn't have the bar open.
Yeah, you need to. But yeah, we don't have council meetings on Fridays, so we'd have Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Would like a council meeting and a working group meeting be different? On a working group meeting, could you open the bar?
Working group you could do, yes, but if it's a committee, an official committee meeting.
But full
or a
council,
council,
committees and subcommittees, you can't.
even advisory committee, yeah, so advisory committees you wouldn't be able to either, but working groups, you're okay with. And the annual parish meeting, you would be okay with. So it'd be quite good for that if we had a bar.
But you'd have to shut it before you had the other meeting after, or have them on different night.
Well, I would advise having it on different nights anyway, and making more of an event of the annual parish meeting.
When I go back to King George's and football field, since I've been alive, they played both ways. They played long ways and they played crossways as well. The problem that I felt at the time is when Rock Rovers played there, they did have wooden changing rooms, and I think somebody burnt them down. And I think same's happened in Nelson before on tops towards Basic, some cross that were there. Yeah.
So where are we going with budget now? Is it going to full council in a fortnight? Or is it coming back here and then going to full council in November?
It depends how long it takes to look into certain things and put them in. Like I say, I can email the budget to you so that as a committee you have a chance to look over it before obviously it goes to full council.
Yeah.
But then if you don't think it's ready to go to full council, then we'll just bring it back to the next FES and then take it to full council in November. I mean, it's fallen on the 1st of October into this year, so it's gone early-ish.
There are other things we might have to look at. We had a certain amount in budget this current year for blues.
Oh, we don't have anything in for next year. I've noticed that actually we don't have anything in the current budget for next year's Blues Festival. So we may end up putting something in for that.
But because everything else is going up with inflation, the amount that we top it up with may need to go up anyway.
Well, yeah, it might do.
Also, because the full council have agreed to take on Covent Garden. That's another thing that Gina has got to try and work into the new budget.
I have actually done that. So as it stands, the events budget is looking at it's around the 45,000 mark. That's obviously including the extra event. Well, it's about 43, I think. But yeah.
But just with inflation, the 60 grand, for instance, that we normally have in for blues,
Yeah,
may need to be more like 65, 66, because everything else has gone up 10%. So why wouldn't that have done?
yeah.
So I think it'll be careful when it says in April, your bill will buy revenue of the artist plus 2% plus 3%. So you're always going to have that fault. Even if you did just at the RPR.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think to the next FES, I'll bring the fees and charges policy because it is usually reviewed at budget time. So that if we decide to put room hire prices up, etc., then obviously that can be reflected in the budget in the income side. So, I mean, obviously, all our costs are going up. So, and your staff, that cost's going up, and you have to cover your costs. So, it is what it is. But it's whether you want to put them off and risk putting people off, them going elsewhere.
What we really need is it's a lot of work for you, but with fees and charges, particularly for room hire, what we need is a comparison so that we can compare when you let a room out for say 2 hours, is what we actually have income from that 2 hours hire charge and what it does actually cost us. Because does it break even?
Probably not.
Does it cost us a lot of money? And if it does, how much does it cost us? I'm not saying everything's got to break even, but we really should know what it does actually cost us, because someone's got to be building for a start, staff-wise, haven't they? And then there's heating on and electric on and things like that. And it's all right trying to put a new bar in, have twice as many nights when it's open with an event on, but if it's not breaking even or breaking even-ish, it's actually costing you more money than if shop was shut. Am I making sense?
Yeah. But then we have a lot of people, you know, like Weight Watchers, like, you know, so there are people in the evening where we haven't got a bar and we have no opportunity of earning any extra income. Whereas if we do have a bar, then there is that opportunity there. Yes, so once we get a price for that, then we can obviously look at it more closely so we know how much it would cost to put it in. then we need to work out if we can justify the cost and whether it's worthwhile for us to do that. Yes, if we put it in, then we'd have to, yeah,
You look at rental, because of what breweries that will install it, charge events. They might be signing theirs, or you put them down to say be a free house and buy it for the service.
see that, I don't think that really works with a town hall and a council, really. If you were a venue, a proper venue, a pub or a restaurant, then yeah, but
I think something else on that, or any other, take all the lines and you get the brewery. The ones along, or line, everything else.
mhm,
Just asking or inquiring various breweries, say if you install this in the maintenance charge.
yeah,
As either paying half the flat rate, that's it, or actually say like as a rental type, the matter is yourself to that.
I'm guessing they would still charge you for the initial equipment now anyway, and the work.
It's like glass.
Yeah,
You might be surprised, it might be a big shop. They might be a pleasant one. It's one of those, you know, we have responsibilities. At least then, so it's
mhm,
so it's, you know, do that all the cost next week, but
yeah,
like preset lessons. Sell 2 of our rallying trucks, one that's I say will supply you with software.
Yeah.
Timing somewhere possible. It's options to look at.
I suppose as well, if you have a permanent bar installed, you can also look at sponsorship.
Yeah.
That's another option.
If you had a permanent bar in, you might get more people interested in using it. For sort of business seminar type purposes, if there were a bar there. But I think you'd find it difficult to make it stack up if you hired the equipment, to get it to stack up unless you were open a lot of days in the week. Because if they were hiring you equipment, they'd want to be paid whether you were using it or not. So the days you weren't using it, you'd still be paying money, wouldn't you? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I think you've got enough to go at now to try and put some sort of cost to what we've already got in as list.
Yep.
And that'll help us prioritise it as well.
What I was thinking of doing is anything that could be put like on a back burner or whatever is just including, rather than going and put it in the individual budgets, it's just putting like a line for growth item and then a certain cost so that it's easier to take out if you decide that, you know, it's not an option or whatever. So I may do that.
I know you mentioned before the forecast about the not saying this is what it will cost.
No. There will be an ongoing cost with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It's not.
I really don't think it's needed, really, to be honest, but
I think one of the, it would be nice, but I don't think it's
no.
not.
No, it's not something that I personally would rush into do it. So
It's gonna be research on the problem.
yes.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So can we leave that one where it is for you to come back with some more figures, Gina?
Yep. So what I will do is once I get a chance, I did want to go through some of it with Steve as well, but he's currently ill at the moment. So yeah, but hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. He does. But yeah, so hopefully we can get something together that we can email out to you. And then obviously we'll make the decision whether it goes to full council or not.
Yeah, if not, he'll have to come back here in November and then go to November full council.
Yeah.
And then in January with no option, it's got to be finalised then.
Yeah.
With no option but do that. So item 11, down hall maintenance. Well, we've talked about some of it, haven't we?
Yeah. Heating, roof.
Well, you haven't talked about the tree, have you yet?
No, this is the thing. Yeah, so you may have noticed that we have a tree growing out of our clock tower currently. Yes. So we have been looking into removing it. Obviously, with it being there, there's a lot of things. There will be water running into the building. Whether it's seeding, whether they're going to get into the walls. So it is very mossy up there as well. So really, I think we need to get rid of it as soon as possible. We did ask the guys who do our flagpole maintenance if they would do. We said, I know it's a strange thing to ask, but do you do anything like that, or would you be able to help us? And they said, well, we'd abseil down, but all we would do is just cut it off, and then that is it, and they wouldn't do anything else. So really, it all needs it needs taking out, it needs spraying, it needs repointing, it needs algiciding. Yeah, so we didn't really think that was an option. Because the roots are still in there and you've still got your problem, haven't you, there? So the other option was we thought, well, we'll have to scaffold. But because of where it is, it's very difficult to access. So when we got the scaffold cost back, the cost just for the scaffold was £30,000. And that was just for before any work's been done. So we then thought about the option of using a lorry mount. But the problem with that is because of where it is. You not only have to go out, but you need to go across as well. And none of them would reach. We were talking about this, weren't we, actually? Yeah. And so you suggested crane. Yeah, so that was the other option. However, we did come up with given that the original guy had said that they would abseil down. We kind of looked into that. Coalition facilities have people that work for them, that do work for them, and they do abseiling to get to certain areas of it's part of their job. So he approached someone and they actually came to look and went up, and they said it is doable because there's a lot of structures within that they can that are solid enough for them to attach onto. So they said that that's not an option. It's doable. They said we just need to put some kind of platform inside, and then another one outside. They need to make sure that the ropes are nowhere near like 90-degree angles or whatever, so that they won't be chafing on anything or a risk of being damaged. Well, yes. But he still said, you know, he said it was better than he thought it was going to be. So he said, you know, it's not straightforward, but it is definitely doable. So anyway, so they said they would abseil down. They would also do the work whilst they were there. So a 3-man team and 2 men on the ground. And they will kind of do it all. So we've got we have a quote.
And that quote is to remove the tree, spray it to kill whatever else is still there, and do the pointing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, it says a 3-man rope access team for removal of tree, clearing of gutters, spraying of algicide. A 2-man ground floor based rescue team. Don't like the word rescue team, but weekend. So they would have to do it on a weekend. So it's weekend works. Materials: sand, cement, eco plugs, algicide, and waste disposal. And the amount for that is £2,868.29 plus that. So even if there's any extra hidden costs in there, which it possibly could be, it's still going to be nowhere near the 30 grand for the scaffold. And I think it will be cheaper than doing a temporary road closure and getting a crane or a. So I'm thinking that this is the option we should go for.
How tall's the tree?
It's
deceiving when it's up there.
Yeah.
I would say it'd be as tall as any of us.
and it's literally growing out.
Well, it's growing outwards and right round corner as well.
Yeah.
Problem is, it's on. When you look at downhill from front, looking up, it's on back corner, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can't get with a cherry picker to get at it because you're on the wrong side of the tower. And to come from back street, you can't reach over. You just can't get over there. There's no other way other than to dangle down on a rope.
That's why when I was here, you said, sat outside the crowd reach over the top of the road.
Mm-hmm.
So it just gets right down the basket there. Off the road. Or if they can do it together, they are. Well, that's.
You'd not get a crane for £3 grand, would you? And all work done? I don't think so.
Not £3 grand, right?
Plus, you'd need your road closure.
You'd need a road closure, which would be another 1,500 quid.
Yeah, we don't tell you.
Well,
Yeah. So
I
I would be
think the
happy
2
to go
guys
with
down off ground have a big blanket just in case.
trampoline. Yeah. But yeah, I was quite happy with that quote, to be honest. So I thought it would be a lot more than that.
I think we should go with it.
It's something that
I think we
don't
need.
really want
I
to
think
delay
we
on.
need to be sure that the risk management of it falls on them, not us.
Yeah.
I think we need to be clear of that.
Well, I'm guessing that if they do this for a living, they should have all
Well,
the relative.
yeah.
Yeah. But we'll make sure that we ask for the documentation.
Yeah, it wants to be coming on their liability, not ours. Yeah.
It sounds like if there's 5 men, it sounds like they're doing it. It's a bit of a hobby at that price.
Well, it sounds like they've done it before, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, yeah.
No, it's through Coalition Facilities. Obviously, they do Darren Harrison, so they do a lot of work for us anyway as a council, and obviously they know of people that can do these things. So yeah.
Fred Dibner would have done it, wouldn't it?
One man job.
Is there any more up down hole maintenance?
The only other thing is, we currently have a leak in the annex, which I think I mentioned last time. So we do need to do some work on the roof. Now for a full re-roof, it was 30 grand plus, which would mean going out to tender for. And I don't really think we have that kind of money in the budget this year, particularly when we're doing number 2 Albert Road as well. So we definitely don't have enough money in the rental property budget. We have got a quote to do a patch repair, well, kind of patch repair. So it's basically curing the leak and just fixing that area of the roof, which has come in at, you do need a scaffold, so there is a scaffold price, that's like £5,876 for the scaffold. It's because of where it is and access, because it's at the back. But the total quote is £10,676. But it would mean that obviously we will fix the leak now, and then obviously we've got time to get money in the budget for the re-roof. Oh, we're still waiting for it to come back, obviously.
Does the 10,000 and odd include the scaffold costs, or is that?
Yes, no, that's inclusive of
That's
the scaffold
included.
costs.
What would be an option? And I've known people do it like this on a house, but not very often. Is with a roof, you've two sides to it, haven't you? You've two slopes. It's possible to split the work, because by taking the ridge tiles off twice, which isn't a big job, you can take the ridge tiles off and do one side, and then put the ridge tiles back and do the worst side first and do the other side at a later date by just lifting the ridge tiles. And you don't need to take the other side off that you had done the year or 2 years earlier. You can split it.
The way they do it, is it just redoing the tiles, or is it membrane?
It's felting and
Membrane means.
Yeah.
Placing a couple of strips.
yeah.
That's actually width one as well. Lay horizontal units in the wrong way that way.
Right.
They lay.
Yes, and then they're overlapped. Yeah, you start with the bottom one first, and they're overlapped so that water can't run between them and get inside.
Yeah.
Well, you could do one side of the roof and not the other, and put the ridge tiles back and do the other side. And I think it's the back side that's worst, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still want to do at least one half the way down. The good side that you're not going to do, you still have to come down quite a few days to replace the one that goes over the top.
Yes.
And then replace the tiles there.
Just on the top one on the tiles. Yes.
So we're saying that a full repair would be 30 grand plus.
Yes.
We're saying a leak fix would be 10 grand plus, which is perhaps 25%, 30% of full repair. And David's suggesting that we do one side first.
Well, you could.
We suggesting we could do one, perhaps 20,000. Is that right? It seems to make more sense than other two ideas to me.
As a last
Got it in the
resort,
budget.
the ideal thing, I think, is probably to do a repair on it to start with a view to coming back in future years to do a re-roof. And in an ideal situation, if you could budget for in a few years to be able to do the whole 30 grand job, then do the whole lot, that would be the ideal thing. But if funds were short, you could do one side one year and another side another year.
We nothing budget this year to do one side.
I think we could get the 10 grand, but we'd be struggling with anything else. And it's leaking. So I kind of think we need to do something. The majority of your costs, I mean, the actual repair cost isn't that much. It's the scaffold.
Half of it's scaffolding.
Can I ask a question?
Well, actually, it's more than half. It's the scaffold.
Which as it starts. Obviously, you've got money in the green space. If that's not used, we've got earmark that then to pay for that. If it's not used, it should
Money for what, sorry?
be green spaces grants.
Green space. Okay. What's that?
They're into green spaces.
It's the general grant from the care up to 1,500 £1,000 more grants.
Oh, you mean the nature reserve? That's for the nature reserves.
You can't get that out of this year's budget because it's in this year's budget and they've been told that it's available.
What is, if it's gets to March, you haven't used it. If we lost the next year before.
Well, to be honest, at the end of the year, it all goes either in or out of general reserves anyway. So it works that way anyway.
But then there'd be the ongoing budget for nature reserves for next year, so you'd have to put it back in anyway.
I thought they were putting a bid together. The agricults.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
We paid it.
3,000 and something. You've paid
Oh,
it.
did we paid it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Ah,
You've
yeah.
paid it.
It's because I was thinking 5,000. Wasn't it?
339 something, I think. it was.
Yeah.
But that was put the trees to storage. Not that. So far, it's cheap.
Mhm. But obviously, we have got to pay for the bollards that we have ordered, which are coming on Thursday, actually. So, yeah.
That being also the third party,
With the
third party, it's reason why we're getting them.
no, it's well, no, it's just
Don't affect them.
no. It's yeah, obviously they will be delivered on Thursday and kept in the town hall till the Lensman have time to fit them. Well, to be honest, they've finished watering now, so we have got 3 of them now that are able to.
Get it done.
Well, yeah, it's not been great so far, has it? Yeah.
Is there any more for town hall?
Not that I know of. No, that's it.
No. Items for a future month's agenda. The budget will have to go on next one.
Oh, so am I okay to agree this quote for the annex roof? We decided for the repair.
Is somebody going to move it? Second it? All in favour? Yeah.
It needs to do it.
Yeah, well, it does.
If we don't do that, it's gonna cost a hell of more.
Well,
Well, there'll be internal damage
If
as
you're
well,
not-
which we'll have to sort.
it ain't just internal damage, the plastering and ceilings and stuff. if you're not careful, all your rafters and everything's gonna go because they'll be wet through and go rotten.
Especially the weather.
Yeah. So it would make sense to get it done. Well, for a future future agenda, there's obviously budget got to go on it.
Fees and charges.
Yeah, fees and charges need to go on it. Because that one will then have to go to full council.
Yes, it will.
And that wants to go in and fit in with budget anyway,
Yeah,
because it's other side of the equation, isn't it? It's money coming in.
it
So,
is. So it might be worth
yeah, that
leaving it
needs
till
sorting out.
November for full council.
Other than that, unless something crops up in some form of an emergency, so that we could have more time to deal with budget at the next meeting when we've got some more details, I would rather not try and deliberately find extra things to put on next month's agenda unless they're important, so that we can give more time to budget.
Yeah.
But I mean, if wheels fall off something, it'll have to go off agenda, won't it? That, you know, that's obvious, isn't it? No. Right. The date and the time of the next meeting is bonfire night, 5th of November
Yeah, it's bonfire night,
at
isn't
7
it?
o'clock. So you can't bring your fireworks though.
Oh, that's not fair.
So can I,
Starters.
for this staffing item, can I move that we move standing orders to exclude public, but they're on anyway, but we need to switch off?
Yeah.
I'll